Welcome to another story time with me, Mary Mogg. I thought today's festive topic would be a good choice, seeing as we're officially on the countdown to Christmas. I'm not a huge Christmas person myself. I feel like it's just one big capitalist scam, shall we? And it almost always results in me being sick in my mum's kitchen sink anyway. Don't buy cheese from the petrol station. But I digress. I thought it would be interesting to dive into the ancient roots and folklore of Christmas and explore the fascinating but debated theory that the origin of Santa Claus or Father Christmas is deeply tied to Siberian shamanism and the power of the fly agaric mushroom. Whilst many believe the origin of Santa comes from the Christian bishop of Myra, St. Nicholas, the imagery of Santa may preserve ancient pre-Christian winter rituals from the Arctic. Our main character today is the Amanita muscaria, or the fly agaric mushroom. With its iconic red cap and white spots, it is the quintessential toadstool of fairy tales and the Mario Brothers. But the mushroom itself is also a powerful psychoactive fungus. Myrtle's just having a scratch. It's important to note that whilst it contains psychoactive compounds, it is toxic without the correct preparation, and it can cause extremely unpleasant side effects, including severe nausea, delirium, and sometimes even death. This is why its use was typically confined to experienced spiritual practitioners, the shamans, who understood its potent effects and the necessary purification methods. Legend has it that in ancient Siberian and Arctic communities, like the indigenous Evenki and the Sami people of Lapland, shamans and spiritual leaders would gather these mushrooms for their rituals to honour them, often around winter solstice, which is close to Christmas. The winter solstice marks the longest night of the year, a powerful time of introspection and spiritual renewal in many ancient cultures, making it a fitting period for the shamans to mediate between the physical and spirit worlds. Now let's look at the iconic red and white suit. To keep warm in the brutally cold climate, some theories suggest that these shamans wore red and white fur-trimmed coats, which was a fun tribute to the sacred fungus and a way to stand out in the snowy environment. The colour red in particular may have been chosen to represent vitality, warmth, and the life-giving nature of the mushroom against the stark white of the snow. The idea is that this ancient ritualistic garment slowly morphed over centuries, merging with the story of St. Nicholas, the 4th century Christian bishop known for his generosity, to become the modern Santa suit that we all know today. St. Nicholas's traditional robes were actually often depicted as green, like bishop green, or other colours, making the dramatic shift to a universally recognised red and white particularly striking, and potentially tied to these older northern traditions. But it's also important to note that many people argue that Santa's modern red and white suit came from the famous Coca-Cola commercials from the 1930s, featuring the artist Haddon Sundblom's iconic Jolly Santa. However, the blending of the St. Nicholas's legend with Northern European winter folklore, which includes older figures like the Norse god Odin, who rode an 8-legged horse across the night sky during the winter hunt, it could have subtly preserved the red and white shamanic aesthetic long before commercialisation cemented it. The visual link is too strong for many researchers to dismiss this theory entirely. Now, the flying reindeer. Folklore confirms that reindeer love to eat the fly agaric mushroom. They will actively seek them out and dig through the snow to consume them, likely for the intoxicating effects. Reindeer possess the necessary enzymes in their stomach to process the mushroom's compounds, and evidence suggests that they enjoyed the euphoria it produced. Witnesses described how the animals acted erratically following consuming the mushrooms, such as prancing, leaping and stumbling, behaviours that, especially to someone under the influence of the same mushroom, could easily be interpreted as flying. Shamans, viewing these intoxicated animals through their own altered state, would see their already familiar spirit animal companions acting in a truly supernatural way. This theory is supported by professors such as Carl Ruck, who is an authority in ethnobotany. They believe that it's very possible that the shamans would hallucinate that the reindeer themselves were flying. The altered state of consciousness projected a magical quality onto the animals' natural intoxicated movements, transforming them from simple beasts of burden into celestial guides. The shaman's journey to the spirit world became a literal, visible journey across the sky, towed by their soaring reindeer, mirroring the celestial travel common in many shamanic cosmologies. Some proponents even suggest that Rudolph's iconic glowing red nose could be a symbolic reference to the red cap of the mushroom, a beacon of the sacred fungal gift that facilitates the entire magical journey. There's also reference to chimney entrances and hanging stockings by the fire as well. In the Arctic, people lived in dwellings such as yurts or like teepee type structures. During heavy snow, the main door would often be blocked and completely buried, meaning the only clear way in was the central opening used for smoke ventilation, which was essentially like a chimney or a smoke hole, which was directly on the roof. The shaman would gather the dried mushrooms, their spiritual gifts, and bring them to the community. But because the doors of the homes were blocked by the snow, the shamans would enter through the smoke hole, descending into the yurt with a bag full of precious red and white fungi to share their spiritual knowledge and healing. This act wasn't just about giving a psychoactive substance, it was the distribution of spiritual power and wisdom, a truly priceless gift. With the fly agaric being toxic and needing careful preparation before consumption, the shamans would hang them by the fire to dry. Fresh mushrooms contain higher concentrations of the toxin ibotenic acid, which can cause severe nausea, sickness, and in some cases, death. Shamans would hang the fly agaric mushrooms over the fireplace to dry them out and prepare them for consumption. Drying the mushrooms helps convert the ibotenic acid into the less toxic, more psychoactive compound muscimol, making them safer to consume and more potent to get the desired effects. This method of drying the fly agaric gives us a vision that holds likeness to us hanging our own red and white stockings by the fire on Christmas Eve. The stockings themselves could also be an echo of the shaman's bag, and the mushrooms, now dried and prepared, represent the highly anticipated gifts left inside. Now onto the most bizarre ritual, the consumption of reindeer urine. Arctic shamans developed another unique process to receive the desired psychoactive compounds of the mushroom without preparing and eating the fungi. They would sometimes consume the mushroom via the urine of an animal after it had been metabolized by the animal. The animal's liver and kidneys help to convert the mushroom's ibotenic acid into muscimol. By processing the urine of a reindeer that had consumed the mushroom, they essentially engaged in a purification cycle. This bizarre yet effective method allowed them to ingest the necessary compounds whilst minimizing the mushroom's negative toxic side effects, ensuring the ritual was safer and more spiritually focused. So when you put it all together, we have a big happy man in red and white, the colours of the fly agaric mushroom, who enters people's homes through the chimney, similar to the shamans coming through the smoke hole. He carries a bag of special gifts like the dried, purified mushrooms, and he travels via flying reindeer, or the mushroom intoxicated animals. Could all of it just be a coincidence? The concept of Santa Claus that we all know today is likely a modern fusion of wintertime traditions from many cultures. While for the most part it's likely that the origins are rooted in the Christian saint, Saint Nicholas, the figure of Santa Claus has evolved into a largely secular and commercial icon, leading to varying beliefs and practices across many religious groups. The modern Father Christmas is best understood as a synthesis. An old Christian's bishop's charitable deeds, mixed with Siberian shamanism, ancient Norse sky-riding winter gods like Odin, and English folklore, polished by Dutch settlers and 19th century American commercial art, turning Santa into the jolly figure that we all know today. It's a powerful example of how religion, myth, and commerce continually shape one another. It's a powerful example of how religion, myth, and commerce, how do you pronounce that?
Commerce.
Commerce, yeah, I thought so. I don't know if it was commerce or commerce, but here we go. It's a powerful example of how religion, myth, and commerce continually shape one another. The shamanic roots of Christmas is a really interesting theory. A tapestry of ancient Siberian folklore woven into our modern Christmas tale. It taps into the deep human desire to find connection and meaning during the darkest time of the year. And whether you believe this particular theory or not, It undeniably shows how our deepest, most magical stories are often rooted in the natural world and the ancient practices of our ancestors. It reminds us that there's likely a hidden layer of folklore and magic beneath the things that we think we know best. Thank you for listening, guys. Feel free to like and subscribe to my channel to stay up to date with what thing I think I'm going to talk about next. Hopefully you find it interesting as much as I do. So yeah, thanks again, and hopefully see you in the next one. Bye guys!